Now return to grainy footage of a potential Bigfoot that will surely spark a lively debate in your household. Oh my God, that is real.
No, total fake.
That's totally real. That's totally fake. Look at the way it was. Why would somebody make that up, Lois? What's in it for them?
See, that's why I brought it up, because I knew Graham was...
the shot, Graham.
How did you know that, Justin?
Because Darren told me. He said he was pro-kill.
You got set up.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We're going to be chatting with Brian Brown a little bit later, the much-awaited Bigfoot episode. But first, as always, Graham, the elitist shitbag Dunlop. How's it going, buddy?
Not bad. Darren Grimes of Grimerica.
Yeah, that's right. So, how you been, buddy? Other than being called an elitist scumbag.
I don't know. That was pretty good. That was one of my least favorite reviews that we've had.
I don't know. It was our first actual hate mail. That's our worst trolling yet, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is he considered a troll if he actually gave us positive feedback first and then came back with that lambastement?
I don't know. He don't like us no more.
Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have it handy?
I have it handy.
Our first hate mail.
Yeah.
Let's see if somebody can beat this.
No. We don't want this to turn into a competition.
Yeah, let's make it a competition.
This is from the Peasant King via YouTube, the home of the trolls. Filthy Masonic scum in the flesh, you peasants are worthless losers to wipe the ass of a corrupted elitist organization. Sounded a bit Monty Python-ish there for a second. This show just lost all respect it could ever get from me, and I will never listen to you scumbags again. You hosts are worthless peasants providing the foundation for your elitist masters by providing them an outlet. Goodbye and good riddance, unsubbed shitbags.
That's too bad.
So
but other than that, I think most people found the Randall Carlson interview as one of the favorites.
Yeah, thanks for your feedback, Peasant King. I don't really understand what you mean, since Randall, I know he's a Mason, but he doesn't seem to be subscribing to the mainstream bullshit, so I don't know. You know, I'm a bit confused about the corrupted elitist organization.
What do you know, shitbag?
I don't know anything. Let's balance that out, yin and yang, with some good feedback.
Okay, you got some, are we calling it Spam Graham then? Are we going to go into that right now already? Right off the bat? Is that what we're doing? Because I got a thing to do here.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Spam Graham?
You don't say ham, you say spam.
Well,
Neil Davies for the jingle.
No, I got a lot of little things here. A lot of big spams, but I should get into what's his names.
Well,
first Holly Denton says the episode with Patty Conklin was her all-time favorite. So she says, keep doing what you're doing. But she really likes that one. We've had a lot of positive feedback from Patty Conklin's interview too, actually. But I got a doozy here. This is contact with non-humanoids while tripping. Am I allowed to read this one?
Yeah, you fucking right you are.
Hey guys, I love the show and I fancy myself a psychonaut.
Fancy? Did he type with a lisp? Or?
No, it's me. Sorry. He says he fancies himself a psychonaut shaman of the 21st century. He's from Philadelphia and he has an interesting story for us and our listeners, and I assure you it's all true. A few years ago, I partook in engaging with the Sears sage known as salvia. What I saw while enjoying this trip was a visit or a realization of four ethereal beings I have coined the Watchers, not for the biblical connotation, but for the fact that I felt they have been there with me all my life and are still around. So here goes the tale, which is short and not a tale. I think he meant tall tale.
Tall tale. There you go, doing the verbatim thing again.
Yeah. I don't want to assume people mean, it's a tricky thing. Anyways, he was in his living room with his roommate, who was observing as he took of the Sears sage. As I inhaled a whole bowl pack of salvia, to the face, I was transported to a foggy world where if I looked down was a haze of smoke as if a fog machine was active. I saw 4 hooded figures to my left, lined as though they could observe me 20 feet away in what was my living room, but was now a smoky plane of the universe. I saw them, and then I heard one figure communicate to the rest of the 3 that he sees us, whereby the hooded figures responded, "That is impossible." Then there was a silent acceptance of my awareness. Ambivalent as it was, I suddenly realized I was no longer here, whatever that really means. I at once stood up from my chair and tried to pick objects up I saw beneath the fog, which was 2 feet high. I grabbed the first strange object and examined it, and it was something just on my living room floor. I wonder what that really was, though. It doesn't say. And then another object, which he dropped instantly, that was his roommate's cat. Darren wouldn't have dropped it. He would have strangled it or something.
Yeah, I got a cat, man.
The real world was just not real to me at this point. I only perceived it as a falsehood, a lie, a trick to me. I came out of my trip, and since then I felt as though we all live in a world of illusions and half-truths clouded by our own perception. Wow. He says he loves the show, guys. And Darren, I enjoy how critical you are of certain guys, and Graham.
And Graham.
Even spelt it the way you pronounce it.
Graham.
Don't spam Graham as in G-R-A-M. It's G-R-A-H-A-M. And I'm not so happy of how critical you are. I would like to Skype one day with you guys on another mushroom trip, and I will take a heroic dose of 7 grams. I will also be posting your flyers in Philly, and I plan to contribute to the Moneybomb. Thank you guys for the show.
Challenge accepted.
All right. Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think, buddy? Pretty crazy.
You want to know what I think?
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Oh, you're considering it a challenge, eh?
No. Well, everything's a challenge, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Eating 7 grams of mushrooms is a fucking challenge.
Yeah, that's a heroic dose, all right.
That one, the podcast could actually go to shit. Came close a couple of times last time. What's next? That's great feedback. And yeah, add us on Skype, Grimerica. It's that easy. And we'll hook up and maybe work out some details down the road.
Yeah, well, I've got some feedback I want to read from the website too, just because people can actually leave their comments about specific episodes and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to do. Soon enough, you can sign up to a newsletter that Justin Fortean Mind is going to be setting up for us.
Yeah, big thanks to Justin for he kicked in a little to help us offset some of our expenses last week, so we appreciate that.
So lots of good feedback about Randall Carlson. A lot of people looking forward to his book that has some stuff on the moon. Has to be one of the greatest podcasts, Grimerica podcast ever. I love this guy. Thanks, guys, for doing this. What an utterly mind-bending show. Everything from sacred geometry to mass extinctions to the Elohim and more. Wow. That was from GX2 Music. By Cimarron, he says, fantastic interview with Randall Carlson. He rocks. Guys, great news about a future book, The Moon's Origins. Randall never ceases to amaze in his detailed and open-mindedness. Great stuff. Many thanks. So looking forward to his book. Brilliant talk. Thanks for hosting this amazing 4-hour show. You guys did a wonderful listening interview, and that's a rare art form these days. Way to go, eh?
Hey, watch it. Where's he from? Is that a Canadian? Is that a friendly A? Or
no, he said A question mark, so I have a feeling he's not true Canadian.
So is that derogatory?
And then Pato said if there was ever a show worthy of going 3.5 hours, it would be this one. Fucking stoked for his moon book.
Beauty.
Yeah, so that was good. Good to hit. So there was some negative feedback. Somebody didn't like, and I don't have it handy. I don't know why, but somebody didn't like how long it went. It was a little onerous. So, I mean, maybe some people have to listen to it on the website. So it's kind of like that their computer there, and they're not listening in a handy podcast format. So I can understand how it might get a little long, but if you're podcasting, you can always just pause it and go back to it, eh?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I put in the music breaks. It's a good spot to. You can always count on one coming up within every 40 minutes or so.
Do you put them in that often?
It depends how long the interview is.
Yeah.
I usually cut it in half.
Do you put them in most interviews?
Yeah, most interviews I'll give you a halfway point, and that's
okay.
kind of the reason I do it is because I like on other shows where it doesn't have to be a commercial, but it just gives you a little break and a great place to stop the podcast and restart it later on.
Speaking
Especially
of music,
when you're going 3.5 hours, right? I put one every hour in that one.
Right. If anybody has any music that they want us to put in, please forward it to Graham at Grimerica.com, Graham, because it's always a chore finding music. It's good though. It's fun, but
Yeah, send that along. We appreciate that. We appreciate the jingles as well, of course. We did have a couple new countries to add to the hegemony as well. The global hegemony movement. We welcome Nigeria.
I swear we've done this again already.
You say that every time, but you're wrong every time. St. Lucia.
That's not a country.
It's a fucking country. It's a country in the Caribbean.
It's an island.
Yeah, a fucking country island. What country is it part of then? Saint Martin?
St. Martin. That's near.
Saint.
That's not near the Lucia, I bet.
Gibraltar?
Not a country.
It's a fucking country. And Senegal.
That's a country.
They're all fucking countries. They're all countries.
Says who?
I
map,
fucking decide.
YouTube?
My map. Exactly. YouTube map.
Your map? Your YouTube map? The troll map?
YouTube and Libsyn map.
All right. Okay.
But either way, both are, I trust both of them more than you. And then I wanted to give a shout out to a few people who were kind enough to leave us some reviews. Chris and Sid from Australia, Dixie621. I forget where they're from. I think the States. And Corbin556 from the UK. So yeah, we like to see that. Get over there, give us a review. It's real easy. Just go grimerica.ca/iTunes and it'll take you right there.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, you can also do it on Podbay too. I don't think the link's quite as easy. I could make it as easy, I guess, but yeah, so I think that brings we're closing in on 130 on the hegemony now, so we got some steam behind us.
Yeah, that's good. So we want to mention the Moneybomb too. That's
oh yeah, we'll be doing a draw. This draw actually, you guys will probably get an extra week on the Moneybomb because of my holidays. So we won't be able to do the draw until I get back on September 5th or something like that.
So, and it'll go over for sure with the amount of subscribers we now have, which we want to thank everybody who's been subscribing to. Darren's going to read a list of them next show, I think, right?
Yeah, we're going to read a list of our subscribers and keep trying climbing that up. We had a few people join last month, so that's always good. And even if you can't subscribe, you can always go and do the one-time thing as well. And then there's a couple non-donation required, basically spreading the word in different formats, or anything really. I mean, we try and enter. If you help us out or send us a jingle, that'll get you in for sure too. And
yeah,
you can check it all out at grimerica.ca/moneybomb. All the dirty details are right there.
Yeah, it's been costing us a little bit more, obviously, with the technical difficulties and stuff.
When I delete files, it costs more.
So when we have to dig up lost episodes, it's So we're still kind of learning here as we go too. So any little bit of money helps keep this thing going. We've got a good thing rolling here and we want to keep it going, and we don't want to charge anything extra. We don't want to do extra shows. We don't want to do ads. We want to make it value for value and just, have us cover our costs with people that listen. So thanks for your
buy us coffee
subscriptions
once in a while.
Yeah. And get a Grimerica email. You're giving out some emails now.
Yeah, exactly. Good. The subscription gets you an email. So yeah. Those will run out eventually. Doesn't look like they'll stop doing that. Doesn't look like they'll... Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Okay.
I'm smacking your leg. Those will eventually run out, so jump on board now.
All right. So you want to talk paradox? Oh, fuck.
Profound UFO quote of the week.
I want to talk UFOs.
All right, it's time for
Profoundly.
Graham's Profound UFO quote of the week. This is a good one. Army intelligence has recently said that the matter of unidentified aircraft or unidentified aerial phenomena, otherwise known as flying discs, flying saucers, and balls of fire, is considered top secret by intelligence officers of both the Army and the Air Forces. That's in an FBI issued memo on UFOs entitled Protection of Vital Installations. Memo sent to the Office of Naval Intelligence and the Office of Special Investigations.
What?
Cool, eh?
That was a good one.
A little heavy for the Bigfoot episode, but
Think so? You should have got a Bigfoot. You should have got a Sasquatch or UFO, guys. You can find one?
Yeah, I can find one.
Fucking David Wilcock says that shit all the time.
I know. I was trying to find like a quote about, hey, I saw a Bigfoot and a UFO, like a president seeing both of them in the same sighting, but nah, couldn't find it.
I think I seen something that the looks like the Patriots were kind of starting to pick on Wilcock or Wilcox or whatever.
Patriots?
Yeah, because he was saying something anti-American.
Oh, the Patriots, like those types of Patriots.
Yeah. In the radar, that can't be good.
Yeah. Oof.
Can't be good. So who do we got coming up this week? Brian Brown. He has his own podcast, The Bigfoot Show.
Yeah.
And of course, Justin hooked us up with him. Justin, our newsletter guy, our
Bigfoot enthusiast, our Sasquatting,
our Sasquatch expert, resident Sasquatch expert.
Yeah.
And blogger.
Yeah.
He does a lot for us, actually.
He does. He donates. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
And he's helped us out on some intros, too. Oh, we should have had him
he's
on the
actually
intro
with us. No, well, he's on this interview.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we should have, but everything's kind of hit and miss lately. We're into the real fucking busy days of summer, so
Yeah.
it's a chore
scramble
to squeeze everything in with camping and baseball and real life.
Yet this is more real than everything in some ways.
Probably, yeah.
All right, so we want to mention Paradigm 2014 as well. That's coming up October 2nd and 5th in Minneapolis. Fucking tons of great guests. It's gonna be the best one by far. Like, Von Daniken, Graham Hancock, Richard Dolan, just to name a few. There's some extra special events going on, like I think there's a haunted ghost tour or something one night, or a psychic thing. There's a couple cool events at night too. So check out our website for a link, and I'll put a link in the show notes. Do we have a link on our website?
Yes, there's a link on the website.
Okay, good. So yeah, Scotty and John. What happened to me there? I just lost John's name.
John Ward. Dr. John Ward.
Scotty Roberts and John Ward are putting that on. So yeah, it's go there, buy a ticket.
Yeah, we'll be doing some interviews down there. So who knows? You might even be able to sneak yourself onto the Grimerica show somehow. If you see us in the hallway, come in and say hi.
Yeah, we may even have a 3D. Fuck.
We were not going to have a 3D printer.
No, we might have a VR game to demo with some Oculus Rift goggles.
Yes, we might. That's possible.
Sweet. Yeah.
When's that fucking thing coming in?
It's not. I just got word it's
delayed.
Yeah, there's still inventory things or something like that. Let me see here. What did he say? He said.
What did he say? Just today you got it?
I just said, I knew you were going to ask, so I'm preparing. I said, order is still pending there, waiting on inventory. Oh, we might not even get it in time.
I wonder where you are on the pecking order.
I know.
For that shit.
Bottom of the barrel, buddy.
You think so? I wonder how they rationalized it. Like, hopefully just first come, first serve. Maybe by country, though. It always seems like those fucks over on the other side of the world get everything first. Movies come out first over there. Like Australia.
No, everything's way back. No. You got it all backwards, buddy.
Comes out here first?
Yeah, they're way behind.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, they're like a month behind on some things.
I thought they were ahead.
No.
All right. Agree to disagree.
Okay. You fucking just like argue with me, don't you?
Sometimes. Nice t-shirt, by the way.
Shh.
I'm wearing a Grimerica prototype.
A failed prototype.
That's okay. You spelt everything right. You didn't miss a comma, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I think that should pretty much about wrap it up. Of course, we had a great chat with Brian here. We can talk all things Sasquatch. Hopefully in the fall we'll do another Sasquatch episode. I want to talk to that fucking roping guy too. Talk some fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Yes. Abs in. All right, guys. Enjoy the chat with Brian Brown and and Justin, of course, and Graham the elitist scumbag Dunlop. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight for our second show. We're going to be chatting with Brian Brown from the Bigfoot Show. So we're going to jump right into it. You want to fire up the recorder there, Joe? Okay, guys, tonight in Grimerica, we're going to finally be doing our much anticipated Bigfoot episode. It's funny, we've been going for over a year now, and we haven't talked Bigfoot yet, and we've gotten a lot of blowback for that. So finally, it's happening. We're talking with Brian Brown from the Bigfoot Show. But first, the great Graham Dunlop. How's it going tonight, buddy? Hey. I can see your face just lights up when I go with great.
Yeah, I like the great one because it reminds me of Gretzky and all my favorite hockey players. So that sounds a little lame, but yeah, he was when I was growing up. I cried when he retired. So anyways, enough about that. We've also got Justin here with us to help out. He's also Fortean Mind. So hey, Justin.
You know, being Canadian, I'm not surprised you cried when Gretzky retired.
I don't really want to get into that. I kind of regret saying it. But we've also got Brian Brown here from the Bigfoot Show. And like Darren said, man, this is one of the ones we wanted to start off with right away in our podcast. And it's been a year and we haven't even had the Bigfoot Show. So now we have the Bigfoot Show of the Bigfoot Show. Perfect. And Brian Brown founded the Bigfoot Forums in like 2002, and that led him to start the Bigfoot Information Project and eventually create the BIP Cast, or the Bigfoot Information Project Cast, in 2007. And he launched the Bigfoot Show. A couple years later, joined the North American Wood Ape Conservancy, and he's on the board of directors there. So Brian blogs about non-Bigfooty things at Moon Burrito, but we're happy to have him here talking about Bigfoot. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I don't even know where to get started. I've been interested in the Sasquatch for quite a while.
You guys have been doing a show for a year and you've never done one about Bigfoot?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how it happened.
It's kind of close to us, right? Like it's so in our culture now. I don't know.
Where are you guys? Where are you all located?
We're in Calgary, Alberta, and Justin is Washington.
Central Washington.
I'm about a 9-hour drive from the Sasquatch Inn in now I don't remember the little town it's in, but I have a picture of it. We used to drive by. It's near Mission in British Columbia.
Sure, you guys.
Harrison
Lake. Man. Harrison. You guys are Harrison. Yeah, you guys are in a great spot for that kind of stuff.
That's funny. I grew up in northern Ontario, and in Vermilion Bay, there's this little nothing town, but they've got a giant Sasquatch statue there. So that's kind of neat. Actually, there's been a few Bigfoot sightings around Red Lake.
Basically, he's all over the place.
Yeah, he gets around. It's funny. One of the earlier conversations I had with someone in my wife's family, once my interest in this topic was exposed, she asked me. She's like, "How could this one thing?" She looks at me like I'm an idiot. How could this one thing be in all those places? I'm like, it's not like the Tooth Fairy. It's not. It's lot. It's like, really? You think Bigfoot is one thing? But yeah, that's actually not an unusual question that you get if you're into this sort of thing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So man, where do we start? There's so much. So what's new? What's new with the Bigfoot community and what you're doing?
Oh, well, those are two different questions. I've been out a couple of weeks this year already in the Ouachita Mountains in Oklahoma, where the NAWAC, the North American Wood Ape Conservancy, has been doing some field research there for several years now, many years actually. But for the past, this is our fourth year doing long-term field research where we'll be there. We'll have someone on site. We'll have teams of people on site for about 3 months over the summer. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And so that's kind of what I'm wrapped up in right now. In the Bigfoot world in general, you've got all kinds of crazy crap. You know, you've just got all kinds of characters. Melba Ketchum is out there. You've got Todd Standing.
Another Canadian,
yep. And of course, Brian Sykes just came out with his DNA study recently, which was something we've been waiting for a long time. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the world of Bigfoot. But Yeah, so those are two different things. Like what I do on a regular basis, and the people I'm talking to are so far removed from all of that. Though sometimes it feels like it's on a different planet.
Right. So okay, so pardon my naivete to the whole thing, but it seems to me, from what I've heard, is there's two kind of camps. One is like the strictly crypto camp, or like that Bigfoot is actually, a possibility, but it's more of an actual creature. And then there's also the high strangeness kind of camp.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the day, sort of the flesh and blood camp versus the, whatever else, not flesh and blood, some sort of, in fact, I remember I had a friend of mine I used to work with many years ago. I've talked about him on the show before. But he was really into UFOs, like super into UFOs, like probably more than anyone I've ever met. And one time we were talking about this, he was going to some, I don't know, convention or meeting or something. And somehow we got on the topic of Bigfoot, and he's like, he says, we know all about the Bigfoot. And I'm like, you do? And yeah, he tried to tell me that Bigfoot was alien. And I don't think Bigfoot's alien. I think he's just, based on the experiences that I've had personally and people in the group that I belong to have had, Bigfoot, wood ape as we refer to them, they act like, apes. They act like primates. So to me, I think that they're very stealthy. I think they're really furtive. I think they know how to stay hidden. But I don't think there's anything supernatural about them. As I said, we've been going out for many years now. Myself, I've been going into these areas in the Ouachitas and have had, I believe, some up close experiences with these animals, and they never seem to do anything that strikes me as supernatural. They're just really, really fast and really, really smart for an animal, and extraordinarily patient. They're so patient. They will sit in the same place for a really long time and just wait for you to either move away or do something. But as I said, I don't think there's anything necessarily supernatural about them. Not that we've ever experienced. I do understand where that comes from, though. And I said this on the show before too. The first time that I believe that I saw these animals, they moved so quickly. They were going up a hill, and they moved so fast and so smoothly. Their motions were so fluid that had I been inclined to think they were supernatural, they looked like just ghosts. They were moving so fast and so smoothly up this hill. And it's funny because another one of our members had a similar experience just earlier this summer, where one ran in front of her about 40 yards in front of her on a trail, and she saw it run across this little clearing and then up a slope. And she said the same thing. It was just perfectly smooth, very, very fluid in its motions. So I think that they sort of, like, when you see them, it happens quickly. I think sometimes they can move very, very quickly, and I understand why someone would walk away from that thinking that maybe there's supernatural powers involved. Yeah.
So you don't think they're using their sleeping tiger, hidden dragon abilities?
I don't. Although I do think that they're ninja-like in the way that they can move around. But I don't think so.
My favorite is that they're little gray aliens in like a little Bigfoot robot suit.
Yeah, I love that one.
Like all the little levers.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when I was a kid watching Bigfoot on the $6 Million Man, and how I was disappointed that it turned out that he was an alien android. I was like, really? Well, whatever. Yeah,
that says a lot about where you ended up with the Bigfoot Show. Like, I'm going to prove that this guy's not a little alien android.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, my whole life has been bent towards that mission.
I remember the $6 Million episode with it's funny because I'm into UFOs, and I remember being freaked out by that episode with the mechanical fucking UFO type thing roving around with some weird sound, and like the $6 Million Man couldn't fucking penetrate it at all, and he was getting like his arm cut, and there's a saw coming out of the thing, and it was like I was traumatized by that episode.
Yeah, I love that show.
So what else was I going to ask about that one? So the high strangeness, like, I guess it's kind of cool that you do have an open mind about it, and because for me it's like people have these experiences, and it's kind of hard just to swipe them under the rug, right? But you've had some of your own experiences.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit more about that for people that aren't that familiar with Bigfoot, it might be quite astounding.
Yeah, I've had a couple of experiences, and I don't want to suck up too much time talking about this, but you know, the sighting that I had, we were we call it Area X, which sounds very cool and very ominous, but it's just that's what we called it, Area X, because we had several of them and we named them after letters. But anyway, Area X is where we go. And a couple of years ago now, I think it wasn't last year, it was the year before that. There were several of us there one evening, and to cut a long story short, we saw two of them walking along the base of this sort of slope of a mountain that's very close to the cabin in which we stay. And as soon as I don't think that they knew we were there, because we believe that they were actually sort of hunkered down in these bushes that were out of our view a little bit. And they sort of walked out, and then we saw them at the same time they saw us. And of course, the people I was with, we all sort of like jumped up and made a commotion, and they took off up this hill. And what I saw, there were 5 of us sitting there. One of the guys that were there didn't see anything at all, and I probably had the least best view of the people who did see something. But as I said, there are these two black animals that just tore off up the side of this mountain, a mountainside that, I mean, I've been up and down that thing so many times, and it's difficult to traverse, but these things were up in seconds. I mean, I can't even tell you. I've heard lots of reports over the years. People have said, "Oh, they're so fast, you can't believe how fast they are," and you go, oh, "Okay, they're fast." And what I tell people is, "No, man, they are fast. They're so fast. Like I've never seen anything move that quickly." In the woods, not even deer, not even something like that, and they did it with such fluidity and such sort of grace in motion. So that was the I think one of the times, probably the time that I saw them. And again, had it just been me, I don't know that I would have said for 100% that was a Bigfoot sighting, but I was with 3 other people who had better views than I did, and 2 of them saw their legs scissoring. One person actually saw them standing there. So that's what that was. I've also I've been very close to them, I believe, on occasion. There was one time last year we were again in this very same place. And we had had quite an evening, interesting evening. We've been doing some call blasting. That's where you have if you've watched Finding Bigfoot on TV, you know what call blasting is, but there's a big speaker and you're broadcasting animal sounds out into the forest to try to get some sort of response. Uh-huh. And so we'd been doing that. We've been doing some sort of aggressive calls, trying to get them to do something. And we decided it was time for bed, and I was walking over towards where my tent was, and my truck was parked next to the edge of the woods there. And I sort of turned at the last minute to put some stuff down on the tailgate of my truck. And as soon as I did that, I heard from these bushes not 10 feet from me 2 things kind of simultaneously. One was the sound of like somebody walking back in the bushes, like retreating from me, step, 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 like big crunching, stepping sounds. And then this sort of like whispered gibberish. It was like, in the Bigfoot community, it's called samurai chatter, this sort of vocalization, but it was whispered. So it was super creepy. It was like this kind of thing. It was really, really weird. And I had never heard that before. I'm happy to say that at least 2 other members now have heard that very same thing. So I don't feel like I'm going crazy, but this sort of whispered gibberish sound as it retreated away from me in the woods. That was a pretty close experience, I believe. I had no idea it was there, and that's one of the reasons why I say they're very patient, because that animal must have been sitting there for a really, really long time, or it crept up so slowly that we had no idea it was there. It was a very interesting evening after that.
Or it came in through a portal. No, I'm just kidding.
Or it just, it apparated.
Just materialized itself.
Yeah.
So I was out for dinner the other night, and I met a fellow who's going to go on a little Bigfoot hunt at the end of August, I think, just for a few days. And he was talking about... we were talking about the things you do to attract them, and you mentioned call blasting, and then I guess we've seen on TV people hitting trees with sticks, that type of thing. Is there any other methods that are tried and true?
Well, call blasting is used if you're trying to, it's different. Area X is weird in that they're there. We have fairly regular experiences with the animals there. I can't tell you why they're there. I mean, I know why they're there in that it's secluded and it's far from civilization and it's a great place for all kinds of animals to hang out. I can't tell you why they don't leave. I can't tell you why they've been there sort of religiously and reliably for the past several years. So it's a little unusual in that we believe that they know when we show up and that they're hanging out to see us and see what we do. But if you're sort of quote unquote traditional Bigfooting, you go out into the woods and you call blast because you're trying to get one that isn't right on top of you to respond, to think that you're a Bigfoot, right? So you call blast, typically something like the Ohio Howl, which is a semi-famous vocalization that we believe is a Bigfoot call. It's a sound that actually we've heard in X before. We've heard animals make this sound without us call blasting it. But yeah, call blasting is great. My best call blasting experience was actually in Northern California. Oh, I'm sorry, Central California in the Sierras 2 summers ago. Oh, maybe it was last year. And we were call blasting the Ohio Howl, and we got a return followed with this really angry kind of like gibberish sound at the end of it. It was whatever it was, sounded really pissed off. But so that's kind of cool. The wood knocking thing, yeah, that's something that I've heard and that we've experienced. And if you're lucky, sometimes you'll do a wood knock and they'll reply. You'll get a knock back, and it's our opinion, our belief that these knocks are being done by Bigfoot, by other wood apes. In fact, several years ago now, I had an experience in near Skookum Meadow in Washington, in the Gifford Pin Show, where we were doing some wood knocking, and we had sort of this back and forth thing going for several minutes. No idea what it was, but it sounded like something banging on something. And it wasn't, if you go through the list of all the animals that live there, probably not a bear. Bears don't typically do that. They don't have thumbs and arms. They're not going to like hold a stick and beat it against a tree or whatever. So yeah,
maybe it was Justin.
It could have been a Bigfoot researcher, I was going to say.
It absolutely could be another Bigfoot researcher. It's funny. I don't know if you listened to the last show.
I did. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. That's something we have to be really worried about nowadays. Especially if you go like Skookum Meadow is just like, I think really played out from a Bigfoot research standpoint. It seems like a lot of people go to Skookum Meadow, so you have to be really careful when you're there.
Well, you got the Skookum cast from there, so it's a pretty popular site.
It is, and it's really easy to get to. It's this beautiful forest road goes right to it. You can go right to where, and the Skookum cast was cast like right there on the side of this like gorgeous forest road. So it's the simplest thing, like any car can get there. And it's a great place to camp too.
Do you think he was whispering to you, or do you think he was trying to warn someone else?
I think that in the research I've done, these primates, apes and gorillas, have a hard time controlling their vocalizations, and it's tied to their emotions. In fact, there's a great anecdote in the research of some research they were doing with I believe it was chimps, and they were testing sort of like giving some chimps treats but not others, and seeing how they reacted to that. And this one animal, when it got a treat, it would make a vocalization. It would exclaim. It would make a sound, and that would alert all the other chimps that treats were being given, and they'd all run over. So, and then she wouldn't get her treat. So in this particular case, she actually would put her hand over her mouth so that when she made her sound, they wouldn't hear it. She couldn't not make the sound, right? She couldn't keep herself from doing it. So I think what it was just an emotional vocalization that it had a hard time controlling. I don't think it was, quote unquote, talking to me. I don't think necessarily that I was the intended target of that. When we have heard that vocalization in the past, I don't know. I think it's in response to feeling threatened. I think it's in response to being surprised. I think this particular animal was surprised that I turned toward it and started walking toward it like that. I don't think it was expecting that at all. So I think in that particular case, it was a sort of an emotional display.
It's just a Bigfoot curse. He's like, fuck, he's seen me.
Yeah, god damn it. And actually, I had no idea. If it hadn't moved, I would have had no idea it was there. That's the crazy thing. So he kind of blew it himself.
What would you say that what you heard sound like the Sierra sounds?
Oh yeah, that first Sierra sound disc, not the second one. The second one sounds entirely different from the first.
But it was more of a whisper.
Yeah, it was a whispered version of that. In fact, we've got a recording. The NAWAC has a recording of some vocalizations that we captured there in X that sound, to me anyway, and to a lot of other people, very much like that first Sierra Sounds disc. So much so that I used to put the Sierra Sounds disc in sort of like this, I don't know what the hell that is, kind of box in my mind. But after I heard the recording that we captured, and other people have heard this in our group in that area, I believe that first Sierra Sounds disc to be genuine. I don't know about the second one. The second one sounds completely different to me.
Like they caught the first one and they decide, hey, let's just keep this going.
Exactly. I don't know, but if you listen to the two back to back, it's like the Bigfoot learned a whole new language or something.
A lot of people describe what they hear to sound a lot like the Sierra Sounds.
Yeah. No, I think it's really, really close. In fact, there's a sound that it makes sort of like this kind of sound.
I was hoping you would do an imitation of it.
There you go. That's that's my imitation. But actually, I do it with a paper towel tube, and if you like make this sound into the end of a paper towel tube, it sounds just like what we recorded, and it's really sort of resonant. It's kind of a cool way to do it. But it's like this blah, kind of like he's getting ready to make he's going to yell or something. We recorded that exact sound, and you can hear the exact same sound on the Sierra Sounds. I think that I mean, again, based on my experience, that would mean that the first Sierra Sound disc is either authentic or created by someone who knows what they sound like, because that's what we heard.
So you're saying next time I go squatching and bring a paper towel tube?
Oh yeah. In fact, I've
or just like in general. Yeah,
I've call blasted the Sierra Sounds before, and that sort of what they refer to as like the old man on the disc, the big male. I've gotten some not return calls. I haven't heard anybody
some hits.
But I've had like interaction. I've had what I believe to be wood ape interaction after calling that. Yeah.
How many places have you gone exploring?
Looking for Bigfoot. I've been in the Big Thicket part of East Texas, which is a sort of a wilderness area in East Texas. I've been obviously to the Washitas many times now. I've been in different parts of California, Northern California, Central California, South Washington State, where around Skookum Meadow, also the Olympic Peninsula, and of course Minnesota, where I live, northern Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. We go there. We're going there for the Paradigm Symposium in October.
Oh yeah, where's that? Is that in Minneapolis or where's that?
I can't remember. When I went, it was at the Hilton, I think, wasn't it? The Hilton in Minneapolis.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, October is a beautiful time to be in Minneapolis.
A little cold.
It's not quite frozen yet. Sometimes it hasn't snowed.
You're from an igloo. It couldn't have been that cold.
That's true.
Seriously, I can't believe people in Canada are giving me crap about it.
We drove 22 hours or some shit.
Holy smokes.
Yeah,
you drove?
We drove the first time. That's not going to happen again.
I'll pitch in gas if you decide.
We just do a 24-hour detour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll meet you up at Lake Ogopogo.
Yeah, sweet.
12-hour detour.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this thing being a wood ape. So do you call it a wood ape now instead of a Bigfoot officially, or?
Well, that's the term that we use. Bigfoot, if you go back to the history of the term Bigfoot, it referred to a specific animal near Bluff Creek,
right?
In Northern California there. So it was just sort of adopted as the name of the animal in general. And I've never really liked the word. It's hard
to pluralize.
It's hard to pluralize, and that's quite controversial within the community. Bigfoots, big feet.
It's Sasquattle. We all know where we're going.
Sasquattle. Yeah, Sasquattle is our, of course, our preferred term on the Bigfoot Show. But yeah, so we've sort of moved away from the word Bigfoot because we don't think we think it's again, it's tied to that one animal and it's got a lot of baggage culturally. I don't think it's taken seriously. We in the NAWAC would like to be taken seriously. We think we're doing serious work. So we just wanted to come up with a more descriptive name for the thing. We believe that they're apes based on their behavior, based on everything they do. It seems clearly that they're primates, and they live in the woods. So for the time being, it seems to be a less. It's less jokey than Bigfoot. You get a lot of people roll their eyes at Bigfoot. You can say wood ape and they have no idea what you're talking about. So it's also a little stealth.
Well, you kind of see the same thing in the UFO communities, moving away from UFO to aerial phenomena, or you know, because it's tainted from a couple decades
of ridicule.
Yeah, the media, culture takes a term and they sort of spin it to mean something. And if if you care about your, the way people treat you, that can be difficult to deal with. And I think that Bigfoot as a word is just tainted. And so a couple of years ago, we decided to remove the term from the name of our organization because we didn't think it was a serious word and we wanted to be taken seriously.
Yeah, and I hope you don't take our joking around on the show to be
not at all. No. It's still the Bigfoot Show. I use the words interchangeably, and I don't even really think about it. So
So speaking of it being an actual like ape or primate, so just avoiding kind of human contact for the most part. Joe here in the studio had a question of whether they're smart enough to start avoiding hotspot areas and stuff like that. Have you seen the phenomena traverse around a little bit, slightly ahead of the hunters?
Yeah, we used to think in the group based on experience that we'd had, based on encounter reports that we had received in the NAWAC, we used to think that they were somewhat nomadic, that they would inhabit an area for a little while. And they would move on. And why they moved on, don't know. But Alton Higgins, who's the chairman of our organization, has been investigating this phenomenon for 15, 20 years, I suppose. Based on some experiences he had working some cases for a while, that was the opinion that we had. But now that we've been in this area we call Area X in the Ouachita Mountains in Oklahoma. The animals there seem to have been there and have not left for a while. These animals are not nomadic. They appear to be permanently situated in this area. So I think it's entirely possible that as a smart primate, as an animal that I think the common perception is that they are trying to avoid people. But again, our experience in X is that they don't necessarily want to be seen. But again, if they wanted to avoid us, they could just go like one valley over. We'd never see them again because it's very difficult trying to get through. It would be very easy for these animals with their mobility and their abilities to get away from us, but they choose not to. And I can't tell you why that is, but that's what it is. So I think it's complicated. I think that in some cases, if you look at gorillas live in these groups. They're usually centered around this, big male. Other males are in the group, but they have to be sort of subservient to the big male. And that includes like, you don't get any women, right? These are all my women. You don't get any women. And at some point the group might splinter off, a male might leave and take a few chicks with him or whatever. Or the males just might be sort of cast out. And then the males themselves will start to form groups together where it's just a bunch of bachelors. And they will hang out together for a while until one of them picks up some women or whatever. So, it's this really sort of complicated social structure among gorillas. It's entirely possible that Bigfoot wood apes have a similar type of complicated social structure in that there's some sort of family group or pod. And then again, we don't know nearly enough to say for certain that this is true, but it could be that individuals like large males or up and coming males have to leave. They're thrown out. That would explain a lot of sort of the solo sightings because an awful lot of human, a lot of the encounter reports that we get are of single animals, individual animals in weird places. Those animals could be looking for a place to settle down. They could be looking for, members of the opposite sex, all kinds of things. Again, if you apply this sort of gorilla template to wood apes, it may not be a perfect analogy, but I think that it would be difficult if you couldn't study gorillas the way that we can. It would be difficult, I think, to always figure out what was going on there, because sometimes you see one all by himself. Sometimes you see 2 or 3 males by themselves. Sometimes you see like a big male and a bunch of other animals around him. And I think, our perspective of what Bigfoot are and how they live is really fractured and not super clear. So I do think that they tend to want to avoid detection. I think that they're sort of naturally furtive and like to sort of hide, quote unquote. But I don't think they necessarily avoid people. I think that they understand that there's something, they have there's advantages to being around people. There's food. There's all kinds of maybe, and I actually believe that they hang around us and X because they like to watch us, because I think that we're interesting. They're primates. They've got really big brains, relatively speaking. They might just be bored, and we might be entertaining. I have no idea.
Maybe he's a Bigfoot he's out human hunting.
He could be.
Do you think he has they have their own trail cams just snapping pictures of you guys, or?
Yeah. That's what the birds, they're actually birds.
So, and this phenomena is all over the world. So do you think that same sort of thing is happening? Like different sort of pods, different races. Tribes, different races of
I don't know. It's really interesting, isn't it? There's the Yaren in China that has a lot of similarities to the North American Bigfoot. There's the Almas in Russia. There's the Yowie in Australia. Wow. The Almas in Russia in the Caucasus is probably the closest. If you hear descriptions of this animal, it's the closest to the way that we describe Sasquatch. It's big. It's much bigger. It's bigger than a Yowie. It's bigger than a Yaren. I think what's possible is that you have these relic hominid species. It was very exciting for those of us in this community who have this interest when the quote unquote Hobbit people were discovered, because they lived relatively recently in the history of the world. So it sort of opened up this idea that maybe there are still, or have been in the recent past, other hominid species. Other sort of like bipedal primate species living in and amongst us. So it's entirely possible. And I'll be perfectly honest. I know just enough to be dangerous about some of these sort of like world Bigfoots. I can't really say with any, sense of authority that I know for a fact that Yaren are real or that Almas are real. But what I do know is that they sound sort of Bigfooty, especially the Almas. I wouldn't rule them out. Not a big fan of the Yeti. I'm kind of the opinion that the Yeti is not actually real. But that's just again,
polar bear.
It's a polar bear. I think that it's probably often a misidentified bear. But again, I don't want to, I just don't know enough about it. I have so much. There's so much in North America to absorb my interest that it's really. I don't have enough time to spend learning about.
Have you ever noticed the stink? People talk
totally
about?
Right. In fact, my story around that is in St. Paul here. There's a zoo and they have a primate exhibit, and they've recently redone it. It's a new primate exhibit, and they have a bunch of gorillas, and the gorillas come outside, and you can get really close to these gorillas. And one day we were there with the family, and this gorilla was sort of walking this big sort of circular enclosure, and he was coming around the bend, and the wind was from behind him. And I got hit with the smell of this gorilla. And it's the first time I've ever really like smelled a gorilla, right? Because I'm not typically hanging out with gorillas. And like as soon as I smelled this, like the hair on the back of my neck just stood up, because I had smelled that smell before. I'd smelled it in the Washitas. I'd smelled it out in the forest, that exact same smell. And it's interesting. Recently, actually, there was some research that was published. I posted it to our Facebook page on the Bigfoot Show Facebook page about how primates, gorillas actually use scent in communication. They actually use signal. They use odors to signal one another, and they can actually control how this odor gets deployed. And that was something that I mean, when I was growing up hearing about Bigfoot, that was one of the things I always heard, that they just stank, right? And my assumption was they stank because they were covered in fur and they lived in the woods and they didn't take baths, right? They were just big dirty animals. But what I think is the case is that this odor comes out of them situationally, you know. And if you read this article, it was in ScienceDaily.com is where I found the link. Sometimes they're doing it to sort of like make a display. It's sort of an olfactory display that, like, you know, I'm the guy in charge here, so don't screw with me. But they don't always do it. They seem to actually have control over when and how they use this smell. So it's possible that there's some sort of glandular thing involved with this, that it isn't just because they're a big, you know, walking carpet, to steal Princess Leia's line, that they actually have some sort of like olfactory form of communication that again has been described in gorillas. The more you learn about primates in general, the more you learn about gorillas and chimps and orangutans, the more parallels you see to the behavior of Bigfoot. There's all kinds of examples of parallel behavior there, and it never ceases to amaze me that the more I learned about gorillas and chimps, especially, the more I seem to learn about Bigfoot.
Can you give us an idea of the amount of sightings that get reported, like the amount of people that, like, I'm not sure how it compares to like stuff like UFOs or whatever, or other types of things.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. How much, like, relatively speaking, I suppose people have much, like, I would guess that you have like there's more people able to see a UFO. UFOs are up in the sky, you know? Yeah. So I would, but that's a really good question. I don't know what the,
but like, is it a constant, like, is there sort of reports coming in sort of constantly? Or?
Yeah. You know, there's, the BFRO is probably the biggest website for this sort of thing. And my understanding is they get reports all of the time. On the NAWAC website, we're getting reports from generally the 4-state region of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And we get reports on a regular basis. I'm not going to say that we get one every single week, but we get them fairly regularly. If you look on our website, I think we have 200 and some that we've published publicly, reports that we've investigated over the years. The BFRO has, I believe, thousands, and they come in, like I said, all of the time. This is one of those things that kind of bugs me. Because well, if Bigfoot was real, like, we would know. Like, well, how would we know? Literally thousands of people have seen these things, right? Literally thousands of people. So what else do you, I mean, I understand that from a scientific standpoint, you cannot establish this animal without like hard evidence. I'm not dismissing that. But this idea that, if they were there, people would, thousands and thousands of people have had experiences with it. And it isn't just like from the 50s on. There's historical accounts in the media of Bigfoot encounters, or encounters with animals that seem an awful lot like Bigfoot, going as far back as there is published media in North America. Native Americans have many accounts. It's part of their culture as well. The Yokuts tribe in the Sierras are a really interesting example of that, because this is a group of Native Americans that in their creation stories, in their culture, they only have animals that are real and exist around them. And that includes Bigfoot. So they have, you know, the fox and the wolf and the hawk and the eagle and all those sorts of things. And they have Bigfoot in there as well. They don't have thunderbirds. They don't have anything else like that. In their particular culture, they only have animals that they could actually see around them. So again, if you want to count that, then there's evidence of people having experiences with this animal going back thousands of years in North America. So it's just one of those things like, well, what we don't have at this point is we don't have that hard piece of physical evidence that clearly establishes the animal to be real. But thousands and thousands of people, myself included, will tell you, I don't personally need that because I've had experiences that tell me they're real.
city all my life.
I totally agree with you. You can't just discount everybody's experience. People aren't just making shit up all the time, and they're not just crazy, and they're not just hallucinating. I totally agree with you. It's just
it's the case that some people are. Like some people are
of course, yeah.
And some people are being, overly enthusiastic, and they're seeing a bear or a deer in their mind.
Yeah, exactly.
But if once you start having these conversations with witnesses, the people who've seen these things, and you start listening to their stories, and you get to know these people, it becomes harder and harder to just dismiss it. And I'm sure it's exactly the same when it comes to a phenomenon like UFO. In that, like you can't just write them all off, and to do so is just so sort of mentally lazy. It's so like to just sort of like dismiss all accounts of personal experiences as anecdotes and therefore useless, so I don't have to pay stuff off. It's just like, what are you talking about? I mean, that's like sort of the fundamental building blocks of science: observation, experience. That's how it works.
Yeah, good. Well said. Yeah. Huh. Do you have anything, Justin, to add to that?
I was wondering if you or anyone in the NWAC has any recent sightings of Old Gray.
Oh, the gray one. Yeah. So Old Gray is maybe one animal, maybe, who knows, multiple animals. But we've had several encounters with a large gray animal, and we've sort of shorthanded sort of to call him Old Gray, him or her. Actually, we don't really know what the gender of this thing is. So. Trying to remember if we've had any sort of clear encounters with the gray one this year, and nothing comes to mind. We've seen sort of flashes of gray. In fact, I had a very, very brief sort of flash of motion. I was down by the creek near where we operate, and sort of in some thick stuff, and something moved, and it was big and it was gray. But I'm not going to say it was Old Gray. So this year, I'm not going to say that specifically we have, but we've had enough experiences with this gray animal I think it's at least one. And it's interesting. You bring up the gray one. What I find sort of fascinating about this is, the morphology of the animal, the shape of the animal. Everyone's familiar with the Patterson-Gimlin film.
I didn't want to bring up the BGF, but if you insist.
Well, I bring it up as an example. Old Gray, based on the people who have seen it in our group, looks like Patty but bigger. Sort of that same body shape, big and thick all the way down to the ground. Just a big, dense sort of, not fat, but like just a big animal. On the other hand,
husky.
Yeah, husky, big boned. On the other hand, we've the animals that were seen in the when I had my sighting, those people who had a better view of them, they were sort of smaller and thinner. We've had another encounter with a sort of a large black animal that's much more V-shaped, much more muscular looking, sort of classically V-shaped, sort of a narrow waist and a broad shoulder. So there definitely seems to be some sort of difference from animal to animal. It isn't the case that they all look alike, and that's part of the problem that we have down there is a lot of people have in their head the Patterson-Gimlin film. In fact, a friend of mine in the group, Paul, his name is Paul, and he had a sighting last year where he saw a wood ape in the woods walking along, and he thought it was a person because it didn't look like Patty. It wasn't big and fat and broad. It was sort of tall and thinner looking, and he thought it was a guy. Turns out there was no guy there. It was all one color. And in fact, he thought it was a specific person who wasn't where he saw this thing walking. And the person he thought it wasn't wearing, brown from head to toe. And it's he accepts that wood apes are real. He knows that they're there. And then he sees this brown thing, this like all uniform reddish brown, tall, upright thing walking on 2 feet, and his brain automatically assumes that that's a person. It's like, I don't even know how many sightings people have had over the years where their brain tells them it's a person. So they don't even think about Bigfoot. You know what I mean? But that was an example of how that preconceived notion of what these things look like probably worked against that particular investigator.
So it's kind of like the reverse of seeing a bear and thinking Sasquatch. You see a Sasquatch and think person.
Yeah. And again, if it doesn't look like Patty, and I don't think they all do, I don't remember if I talked about this on the show or not, but your brain processes stuff all the time. It's getting all this information all the time. And if you're out in the woods and you see something on 2 feet walking through the forest and you're not getting a real clear view of it, your brain's going to say, okay, well, that's a person because I know what people look like. But I think in this particular case, he thought it was a person. It was a little puzzling to him. It wasn't where he thought there was a person. And then the person he thought it was actually walked up behind him from the opposite direction. So that was kind of like, he's like, whoa, what the hell? Because I thought you were over there. And it turns out you were behind me. And anyway, yeah.
Some people might say,
go ahead.
Some people might say he's able to kind of like psychically trick you, make you believe it's a person.
Some people would say that. Yes, some people would say that. I think that your brain works against you in some cases. I think your brain is trying to is trying to put it gets information and it's round peg, round hole, square peg, square hole, rectangular, triangular peg. Oh wait, where do I put that? And, for me personally, when I saw the things run up the hill, that's what I felt like. I felt like my brain was seeing something that it didn't know what to do with. And again, I'm someone who I did not doubt that these animals were real when I was there. In fact, I expected them to be there. I went there to see them. And then when I did, my brain didn't know what to do with it. It was like, I felt like there was this sort of just cognitive dissonance when I was seeing this thing that I had never seen before. It was weird. It was a weird experience.
Didn't your friend Paul have a rifle on him?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he had a rifle and he knows how to use it. But he's also one of these guys who's always given other guys in our group crap for being in that situation. So I was glad that he was able to experience it himself. But yeah, he had a rifle. It's one of the intentions of the group to collect hard physical evidence that wood apes are real, that Bigfoot is real. And that's probably going to be in the force in the form of a specimen. Biology, that's the way biologists work. Science needs a holotype. And most of the time, almost all of the time, that's in the form of a type specimen of an animal, a body. And so we're there attempting to collect definitive proof. We don't want any more evidence. There's lots of evidence out in the world.
I don't know. I can't. I don't think I can.
That's why I brought it up, because I knew Graham was
the shot. Graham.
How did you know that, Justin?
Because Darren told me. He said he was pro kill.
You got set up.
And,
I got set up, man.
He said you were not pro kill, so I figured I'd try to sway the conversation in that direction.
Oh, thanks.
Successful.
Justin. Yeah. No, I don't know, man. It's just, if it's smart enough to avoid contact this whole time and all that, I just have a hard time just pulling the trigger and killing the thing. But
I think that
people are smart enough to build all kinds of shit, and we kill millions of them every year.
What?
What's wrong with one Sasquatch? Just one.
I'm not gonna pretend like it's not a sort of philosophical or moral question, right? I mean, clearly killing an animal in the name of science. The way that I look at this,
maybe you could eat most of them, and then it would.
Well, that's what my co-host Scott Harry. That's what he says. If you eat the animal, then go ahead and kill it.
I think what it is when I hear the stories about people that were gonna shoot it and they look at it and it just feels too human. Like it's just
lots of stories like that. Or I've also heard the account when I was in Willow Creek in California in 2003. There was a guy told the story at the International Symposium there about how he was out hunting one day and he shot one from behind, thinking it was an animal that he had a tag to shoot. I don't remember what he thought it was, if he thought it was a bear or what he thought it was, but he thought it was an animal he was allowed to shoot. He shot it, went over to it, and saw that it was this, what he thought human-like looking thing, and it freaked him out, and he took off. He just left it there because he thought that he had killed someone, even though it was a big hairy animal and not, a person. I think that, I'm not going to say that it's an easy decision, but if the purpose of the group, the mission of the group is it's a conservancy group. We're trying to protect the animal. We're trying to protect its habitat. And at this point in time, they're not real. They're not being protected. And their only time they're going to be protected is when they're established as real. I'm not saying the only way to do it is by a body. I think that that having a physical specimen is the most efficient way of doing it. It will once you have that, there are few questions after that. It is done. It is done.
I say it's the only way.
Can you do poison darts or just like tranquilize it or something? I mean, wouldn't that be the way to do it?
Yeah, we get that question. That question's come up quite a
45
bit.
45 caliber poison dart.
Yeah, it's lead poisoning. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to make light of it because it is a serious question. Usually when darts are used, tranquilizer, it's usually done in a contained environment. But it's a tricky thing in that you have to have specialized equipment. Obviously, the right kind of gun that shoots darts. You have to have the darts. You have to have the medicine. The actual drugs are not things that like you or I could just walk in off the street and purchase anyway. So you have to have access to those things. You have to have a dosage for the animal you're using them on. If you don't send enough in the dart, then the animal just runs away and sort of gets woozy and a headache and nothing happens. If you send too much, the animal might still run away to a point where you don't know where it is and then drop dead. And then, that's the worst case scenario because you've lost your specimen and you killed one and, nothing comes of it. So you've also got issues with range and accuracy when it comes to darts. We have looked into it. It is absolutely something that we've investigated, just like logistically though. And with the limited resources that we have, it's not really an option.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand the noble intention behind it. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't pretend that it's a simple. Yeah. It's not an open and shut case, but the way I think about it, the way that I think most people in the group that I belong to think about it is that this one animal will be sacrificed to protect and save the rest of them, because at this point nothing is being done to they're not being studied in any way. Their habitat. I mean, where we do our research, there's all kinds of logging going on where we do our research now. We have no idea what kind of stress that's putting on the animals. We have no idea what that means to the environment there. So until they're real, they're nothing. We might as well be talking about unicorns.
Yeah, well, I'd say most of the people that are complaining are probably eating cheeseburgers and bacon. And, I mean, who says that even a cow is any higher of a being than a broccoli plant?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a garden now.
They've reached a higher level of consciousness though.
You think so? Yeah. Maybe plants are higher than us.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we got to have that person on that talks about the plants singing. They've hooked them up to some instruments. No, we shouldn't go there. So not yet anyways.
Now I'm going to feel guilty having my salad.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're saying. It's like you basically can't eat anything anymore because it's all living. So it's all conscious.
Soylent Green. I'm just going to have Soylent Green.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's okay if you eat it. That's why you got to eat the Bigfoot burger.
That's funny.
I'll slice the steak out of it before we take it.
So you guys, Justin, you're kind of humming and hawing and didn't want to talk about the Patterson-Gimlin film. Is that like, what are your thoughts on?
Well, on the Bigfoot show, there's quite a big debate, but I guess Scott's not here.
Scott's not here, so the PGF is one of these things that, man, I mean, everybody talks about it. We've been talking about it
I love that.
Yeah,
the PGF.
Yeah, we might want to boycott that then. I don't know.
We've been talking about it for decades, man. It's one of those things that you either believe it or you don't at this point.
Well, I know how you feel about MK Davis as well.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't know if you've seen the new cleanup version of Patty that he just released like last week. It's supposed to be the clearest version of it so far. Have you seen it?
I don't know that I have. I posted something to our Facebook page recently, a really clear stabilization of the Patterson-Gimlin subject or Patty. I don't know if that was MK's work or not, but it's a really beautiful, well stabilized animation of the thing walking.
If you look closely, you can even make out the massacred bodies of Sasquatch.
Yeah, the piles of dead Bigfoot everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I just
can you see the
recently-
pools of blood? Can you see the?
I can see the pools of blood. I can see the leprechauns as well. They're in there. Actually, I recently just worked with a guy, and he said he was out hiking up in Leavenworth, and I asked him if he, offhandedly, if he'd seen Sasquatch. He said, it's funny you mentioned that. My neighbor's brother took the first picture of Bigfoot. And I had to pause and I say, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, he took the film. You've seen it. I'm like, are you talking about the Patterson-Gimlin film? He's like, yeah, he took it. I'm like, well, Patterson, the one who actually took it, passed away. I'm like, are you talking about Bob Gimlin? He goes, yeah, that's his brother.
His neighbor's brother's Bob Gimlin?
No, well, yeah, that's what he claims at least.
That's cool.
And he's like, why do you want to know? I'm like, well, if he had a first or second generation patty cast, that'd be awesome, to get a copy of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do you want to know? I'm like, well, I blog for this podcast and whatnot. He goes, well, maybe I'll try to get him to do an interview with you. I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, set that up.
Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, no, I'll talk to him about it. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen at all.
No, I don't think Bob will do any more interviews.
Well, that's what I told him.
We're passive aggressive here at Grimerica.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm
Wait,
good.
That wasn't. I didn't say that right. I don't think.
Passive aggressive?
I don't think that's.
No,
Are
you're
you
probably not.
No.
Are you aggressively passive?
No, we're just openly aggressive here.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, I have a good friend who is friends with Bob and actually, speaks to him on a fairly regular basis. And Bob is just not doing interviews at this point in his life. He's just like, he's done with that. And I don't blame him.
The last public thing I think I saw him on was Finding Bigfoot. Other than that, he just does the Friends of Bob Gimlin's Bigfoot Roundup.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think he would have done Finding Bigfoot had him in for Bobo. I think he's good friends with Bobo and so yeah. Yeah, he's a cool guy though. I've met him a couple of times. He's a real charming guy. I hear. He's hard not to like. He's just very genuine, and he tells a story, and you hear him tell it, and I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind that at least he completely believes what he's saying. I don't sense any kind of deception behind his words, and yeah.
But do you think it's possible that he could have been hoaxed himself, though?
I think that it anything's possible, quote unquote. I think that it would have been difficult in that, the dude had the gun, he had the rifle. You don't really know for sure that he wouldn't have taken the shot. At this point, of course, I wish he had, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd probably be talking about UFOs with you guys, right?
Back in the 50s, it wasn't even a conversation, I don't think, right? Or definitely not back in like the early 1900s. It's just
no, back then they shot everything, man. I mean, there's a famous story from Ape Canyon near Mount St. Helens where they
Washington.
They just shot shit because they saw it. They didn't know what it was. Like, hey, let's
They shot everything.
Yeah, shoot it first and then go turn it over and see what it is. Like, I mean, they had no problem shooting stuff back then. And if you believe some of the stories, there were Bigfoot getting shot left and right back in those days. They never.
Oh, really? I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of stories.
They were the ancestors of Rick Dyer and Justin Smeha.
Yeah, right.
So they're probably in the Smithsonian then with the giants. Maybe the giants are the Bigfoot.
That's that's sort of a long-standing piece of urban legend that perhaps we've already got the physical remains. They're just cataloged. They have yet to be cataloged, or they're in some drawer somewhere, some box next to the Ark of the Covenant, in the Smithsonian's collection, and we'll never see them. But yeah,
Gigantopithecus.
Exactly. The Ape Canyon story, the sort of the impetus of that event was when they shot and killed one, and it fell from a cliff or something into this ravine. And then the other neighboring Bigfoot apparently didn't take kindly to that, and they sort of attacked these people in their cabin, and yeah. So
this happened. This is a true story.
Well, true story. There was a guy who was interviewed by John Green. I think back in the 60s or early 70s. He was still alive He was very, very old at that point, and he related the story to him. So, I tend to think that it's possible. I don't know that it's possible at this point to say for any certainty that the events in the Ape Canyon story actually happened. But I think that it's entirely possible. And there are some parallels to the experiences that we've had. The Ape Canyon guys, they had rocks thrown onto the roofs of their cabin from up above. They had the animals come up and strike the cabin, physically hit it. We've had those same experiences. We've had the cabin has been hit by rocks hundreds of times. I can't even count how many times.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about
rocks.
that. You hear about the rock throwing? What's up with that?
Yeah.
Like, is it just a ape-like thing to do? Or
have you seen? You should see my 2-year-old. She sees some rocks. She's throwing them. It's like a childlike mentality, I think.
I think that's what it is. I cannot tell you why they throw the rocks. I can tell you that chimps throw rocks and other primates throw rocks. But, I've stood there, at 2 a.m, pitch black, and out of the woods, I've heard the rock coming. I've heard it hitting leaves as it comes along. I've seen this rock hit the ground and come to a rest 4 feet from my feet. And I've walked over and picked it up and I've thrown it back. This has happened to us multiple times. The cabin has been, we find rocks on the roofs of the structures there. You clear all the rocks off. You come back a few weeks later and the rocks are back up on the roofs. How do rocks get up on the roof of a cabin? You tell me. Rocks are thrown. We get rocks thrown. Sometimes they're little rocks. Sometimes they're great big rocks. We've had rocks that sound like frickin' softballs bounce off the top of that cabin, and it's a metal roof. It's like a what do you call that? Like so that wavy metal
tin roof, or
corrugated steel roof.
I think it's a human trait too, right? Like, who doesn't like throwing shit?
That's gotta be freaky though, being in a cabin and getting rocks thrown at you there.
Oh, it's super creepy. The sort of the quote unquote coolest experience I had was one night we had gone to bed very late. It was like almost 4 a.m. or something along those lines. And I was laying, we had bunk beds in the cabin. There's a couple of small bedrooms, and in the living room, there's a set of bunk beds, and I was on top. And towards my feet, there's this little square window that you couldn't close. It was just a screened square in the wall there. And everyone else had basically fallen asleep, and I was the last guy who was awake. I could hear the guy on the bottom bunk snoring. I could hear the guy sort of just off the room in the front bedroom snoring. And there were 2 other people in another bedroom that had gone to bed hours before. So I was the only person awake. And I heard off of the back wall of the cabin, the one closest to the slope of the mountain, I heard what sounded like nuts or nut husks being thrown against the wall of the cabin, sort of like being... Well, the first thing we heard was a rock that hit the roof, and the other guy with me was awake when that happened. But a rock bounced off the roof, and it was clearly a rock because they sound, quite distinctive and different from nuts, because nuts also fall from the trees. This thing, it landed, and you could hear it bounce a few times. But we didn't get up. We didn't do anything. We didn't run around. We didn't turn on any lights. We just said, "Hey, did you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I heard that." Then he fell asleep. And I'm left there, basically the last guy awake. And then I hear the nuts sort of bouncing off the back wall of the cabin. I've told this story on the show, so people who've heard the show have heard this before. And the way that I interpreted this, the events that happened after this, is that it was probing. It was trying to get a reaction, right? So it threw the rock at the roof. Nothing happened. Came in a little closer, started throwing nuts against the back wall of the cabin. I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything, but I heard it. And this is behavior that we had heard before, that we have experienced in there before, the stuff being thrown against the wall of a building to try to stir up activity inside the cabin, but we didn't do anything. No one else could hear it because they were all asleep and I didn't get up. The next thing I heard was 3 sort of very clear footfalls, sounded like big, flat, bare feet against the hard ground. It was like slap, slap, slap. I could hear this thing like come off the slope and sort of step. There's a little tiny creek behind the cabin, and I could hear it walking on the sort of flat, hard ground next to the cabin. And I'm like, holy shit! I just heard this thing walk next to the cabin, and it was right outside the window. The next thing I'm like processing this. It's like you're laying there, and like they're real. I've already seen them. I've had all these other experiences, but now there's I honestly believe there's one walking around outside this cabin, and it is pitch black, man. There is no light. I have a sidearm on a shelf next to me, and all I can see if I open my eyes is the night sights on this sidearm, the two little green glowing dots. That's all I can see. Everything else is just pitch black. There's no light whatsoever. So I couldn't even have looked if I wanted to see what this thing looked like, because I wouldn't have been able to see anything. The next thing I hear is like this weird pinging sound, like this sort of like rapping on metal. And I figured out what it was after the fact, but it sounded like, somebody banging, making a light rapping sound against something metal. And that was really close. That was like right outside the window. And I'm like, shit. And I remember saying to myself, as I was laying there, like, what is going to have to happen before you do something? Like, I'm sitting there, like berating myself. What are you doing? You're just laying here. There's like a freaking monkey out your window and you're not doing anything about it. So like, what is going to have to happen for you to do something? And I remember saying to myself, I don't know, but when it happens, I'll know. Right? When this thing happens. The next thing I know, like the whole cabin moves, right? The whole side of the cabin like shifts and like dust falls from the ceiling. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm up. I grab my flashlight. I hit the flat. I'm jumping out of this freaking like Boggy Creek window bunk bed situation. And I'm down on the ground and everybody's awake. And I'm like, there's something friggin' just right outside. I don't know what it did, but the whole freaking cabin moved. It was really intense. The next day, what we figured out what it was is there's a porch on the end of the cabin there. And a guy that I was with named Mark, he's like a big boy, he's a big, well-fed Texan. And he sort of stepped up onto the porch. And when he did that, he sort of picked himself up by grabbing the roof of the porch. And that made the whole cabin move. That was exactly what I felt, but like times 5, right? So I believe what it was doing is it was coming up on the porch to that window. I honestly believe it was trying to look in the window. I think it was super curious. I think that's another trait of these animals. I think they're super curious about us and what we do. And I think because it wasn't getting any reaction, that no one was awake or moving around or making commotion, I think that it thought it was safe to come up to the window and sort of peek in or explore or do I don't know what. But yeah, it was a crazy night, and I didn't sleep in that freaking bed anymore.
So do you think like when that shit starts happening, are you thinking Bigfoot right away? Like a serial killer or some fucking, like some of that stuff must be running through your head too.
Yeah, it could be a Bigfoot serial killer. No, we're so far out there, and not the last show, but the show before that, I had a naturalist named David Mijajewski down there with me, and I asked him that. I'm like, do you think we're being hoaxed by people? Because that's something that the internet likes to talk about. Because not a lot of people have been down there, so how would you know what it's like down there? But when I say no, dude, it's really out there. It's really remote. It's hard to get to. It isn't like there's another cabin right next door. There's no road. It's a really nasty environment to try to move around in as a human being. I said, do you think there's people out here hoaxing? And he's like, no, there's absolutely no way. I mean, if you're just there, you get it. The terrain is difficult to move across, especially at night, especially in the pitch dark. I mean, you're just asking for a broken ankle or something. You're asking to fall down and bust your neck. I do not believe for a second that we're being jacked with by other people. Right, it's completely inconceivable. Also, oh, by the way, we occasionally shoot at them. So if there's a person, I mean, this is a dedicated hoaxer, man. He is willing to take a shot to screw with the Bigfoot hunters. It's completely inconceivable to me that these are people jacking with us.
So do you think it could be Tom Biscardi?
No, I don't think Tom goes into places like this.
So Brian, after that encounter, did that change the way you guys do you purposefully now not react? Like if something's happening, like do you like sort of play dead until they come closer?
Oh yeah. That's sort of a tactic that you can absolutely employ, and we've done it with some success. If you're one of the things we do, you'd asked earlier, what can I do to attract Bigfoot? One of the things you can do is just like set up camp, sit around a campfire, play music, talk, laugh, have kids around. Kids are very appealing. Women.
What about women during their moon cycle? Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, I've heard that.
What's a moon cycle?
When they're howling at the moon when they turn into werewolves. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know that is not last time I was there. That's not true at all. Last year I was there with 4 women. It was just me and 4 other women. That's when I heard the weird whispering, and some other stuff happened that week. But I was there with 4 women. I think that women are interesting because, like Kathy Strain's a friend of mine. I've been down there with Kathy Strain several times. She's sort of a well-known, quote unquote Bigfooter. She's written some books about native culture and Sasquatch. She has sort of a high melodic voice. She'll like that I said that, but she has sort of a high voice. And I think I think that's interesting to them. I think that higher register is might be something that they're interested in hearing. So I do think that women are something that they're attracted to as an object of interest. Not attracted to like, you know, a baby, but attracted to because they're interesting. Mm-hmm. Kids laughing, music, you know, playing guitars, all that kind of stuff, just hanging out and being a camper, right? But being an aware camper and listening to the woods around you, that's really important. Like understanding what the woods around you sound like, knowing what different animals do and how they sound when they do it. And if you think there might be a Bigfoot hanging around you for whatever reason, we've had some experience with basically, you know, if they throw a rock, you don't do anything. You pretend like you didn't even hear it. You just keep talking because what we believe happens at least sometimes is that they'll come in a little closer.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes this rock throwing, I can't tell you why they throw rocks all the time, but I do know for a fact that sometimes they throw rocks just to see if you know that they're there, just to see if you'll do something.
It's like when you walk out on thin ice and you got your stick in front of you.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the rock throwing in North America, I think, is that you can't just say it's some other animal, right? Like what animal in North America would be able to even throw a rock?
Humans and Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you were to go in another, like in Asia or something like that, and you have like chimps or gorillas or whatever, then okay, maybe, or monkey, then maybe they could throw rocks. Technically, they could physically do it. But in North America, like, absolutely, humans and Bigfoot. And if you're out there in the middle of nowhere and you're already making the assumption that there's no humans around, like who else could it be?
Right. And this is when I tell the critics of the group and critics of what we're experiencing there. It's like there's really only two options. You know, either we're complete bald-faced liars or we have Bigfoot around us, because this idea that we're being hoaxed is preposterous. Again, we shoot at them. What person, never mind the fact that I'll tell you it's impossible for a human being to move around in that environment in the dark, blah, blah, blah. Forget all that. We shoot them, you know, and they don't go away. What kind of person would stay, you know, and keep hoaxing a group of gun-toting, you know, Bigfoot hunters? Nobody would do that. So but I agree with you. There's only, as far as I'm aware, two animals that'll throw a rock in North America, and you know, we're one of them, and Bigfoot is the other one. You know, I've heard some people say, well, you know, raccoons can throw rocks. Well, they can throw little tiny rocks.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they're little tiny hands. You know, they're not throwing like a baseball-sized rock from 200 yards out in the woods, you know, and we've heard rocks come sailing in from really, really far away. The kind of stuff that really kind of freaks you out when they do something that demonstrates just like an incredible amount of strength like that. It's kind of like, holy shit, these things are strong.
Well, monkeys are strong.
Yeah. Chimps are incredibly strong for their size. They're way stronger than us. I want
to wrestle a monkey.
Why don't you start wrestling your monkey mind first, and then we can move on?
I do that when I eat mushrooms.
Is that a euphemism for something? I want to wrestle one.
Well, it is in Canada.
Go wrestle your monkey.
No, here we call it pulling your goalie.
I haven't heard that one before. That's funny.
So do you have anything else, Justin?
I think that covers it. He covered a lot of the questions I had. So yeah, no, I'm good.
What about you, Brian? Do you have anything else you want to tell our listeners?
No, listen to the Bigfoot Show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll link to all that in the show notes for sure.
No, man.
It's just the BigfootShow.com, right?
TheBigfootShow.com, yep. Or Facebook.com/The Bigfoot Show.
Right on.
Those are our two spots.
Or the NWAC
or
website.
woodape.org. Yeah, woodape.org is the website for the NAWAC. And there you can go. We have a really cool interactive map of all the sightings. It's called the Report Explorer. So you can like see all the maps laid out, all the encounters laid out on a map. You can zoom in, you can click on them, you can see what the encounter was all about. That's kind of a cool feature of the site. In fact, we just added a kind of an interesting experience, an interesting encounter just the other day. That would be interesting for someone to go read if they want to.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet.
Do you guys just cover sightings in your area?
Well, traditionally, the group has been centered on the 4-state area: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. Right now, we would occasionally get reports from outside of that area, but typically those are the area that we get reports from. We do have members all over the place. I'm in Minnesota. We have members in Europe. We have members all over the United States. But the core of the group, the traditional sort of the starting of the group was right there in Texas. So we have a strong sort of affiliation with that part of the country, and most of our members are still in Texas and Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you can still shoot pretty well anything in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
Throwing any sort of firearm.
That's why.
Well, they actually asked somebody. I don't remember who they asked, but someone made an official inquiry into can I shoot a Bigfoot in Texas? And they're like, hell yeah. It's like that's not a problem.
No moral
They're
dilemma
protected
there.
here in Washington
Yeah, some parts of Washington
and Skamania County.
Yeah, Skamania
right there
County.
next Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Probably BC too. Everything's protected in BC.
Man, I would love to.
As
go
it
to
should
BC.
be.
BC is like on my list of places I would love to go. I would just absolutely love to go looking for Bigfoot in BC. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty nice countryside over there. Graham's from BC.
Do you know, have you read that book, Raincoat Sasquatch?
Who's that by?
Is it Alley? Is it Robert Alley?
No.
Hold on a minute. Raincoat Sasquatch. I mean, I tell everybody about this book because I love this book. I think it's one of the best books on Bigfoot. Yeah, Robert Alley, J. Robert Alley. He's actually from that part of the country. He's from BC. I believe he was some sort of like traveling doctor or something. I don't remember exactly, but he would travel around to the native communities and just picked up all these great stories. But yeah, it's basically all about Bigfoot in coastal BC, in that part of Canada. It says the title of the book: From Coastal British Columbia, Northwest Washington, and the Puget Sound to the Yakutat. Awesome book. Really, really. I don't even know what the Yakutat is. I just said that.
You kill it. You kill it.
You kill it. Okay, fine.
No,
There
it's
you go.
you kill it.
You kill it.
You kill it.
It's kind of like there's a town in Oklahoma called Honobia, but if you look at it, it's spelled like Honobia, so you can always tell someone who doesn't know what they're talking about because they'll talk about Honobia and nobody calls it Honobia. That's how you tell the out of towners.
Well, Washington's full of names like that.
Yeah, all the native names.
Yeah, I bet.
Is it Wichita Falls in Washington?
No, that's in
No, that's Kansas.
Kansas. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice try.
I had a 1 in 50 chance. Well, that's great, Brian. We'd like to really thank you for taking the time out to come on the show. We'll make sure and link to everything we talked about and where people can find the show and everything in the show notes.
Cool.
And we'd love to do this again this time. I think we did about an hour and a half or so there. It just kind of flew by.
Yeah, I'm happy. Just let me know. Next time you guys, maybe once a year, you'll do a Bigfoot show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, I guess I should ask every guest, I suppose, right? Even Bigfoot. Are you familiar with Synchronicity?
Synchronicity, the Police album?
There you go.
Who are the police?
No, you didn't just say that. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Synchronicity now.
It's kind of like profound coincidence, I guess, or...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Meaningful coincidence.
Yeah, well, that's a question. We kind of do a segment on our intro, so we like to pop it up by our guests, but if you're not familiar, it kind of...
The first one who isn't, so...
Yeah.
Kind of ruins the whole thing.
Yeah.
Next time,
Sorry.
we expect you to be ready.
I'll study up.
He's going to have a few now that he's heard about it.
I'll do
just
some
watch
homework.
out.
There'll be the Bigfoot synchronicity where you try and shoot it, but you miss.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or you
dreamt
look through the
about it.
scope and it's shooting at you.
Yeah.
that would be new. Yeah. If we looked at it through a scope and it like flipped us off,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Okay, Ryan, thanks a lot for coming back.
Yeah, no problem.
Come back anytime and have a great hopefully by the next time we talk, you'll have your body.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'll definitely come back after that.
Yeah, good luck this summer.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
And welcome back to Grimerica. That was our chat with Brian Brown of the Bigfoot Show.
Talking some Sasquattle.
I don't know, man. I wanted to talk more about this, the elusive nature of Bigfoot and the strange, what do they call it again?
I still like
Sasquatch. But the strange occurrences, what do you call it? The high strangeness of the whole thing. Like, I don't think you can just discount people's crazy stories about them disappearing or all this interdimensional stuff, right? I mean, I know it's hard for, the wooded
I can discount
conservatives.
that shit. Look at me. Boom. Discount it.
Yeah. I know you can. You can fucking discount anything just because it's me saying it.
Yeah, well, you're definitely not helping its cause.
And the other one that bugs me, shooting it. I don't know about that, man. Don't just kill the fucking first Bigfoot we find.
Why not? We kill fucking 100,000 people a day, probably.
Well, it's not. Doesn't mean it's right.
You get the shot, you fucking take
Doesn't mean it's right.
Take the shot.
No, I would
take the shot. If you're out there listening and you ever come across that dilemma where you have a squatch in your sights, you take that shot.
No, I'm going to use my shamanic powers to communicate with him and just hold his hand and ease him in,
And hope to fuck it's not a dude in a ghillie suit. Take the shot.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could. No.
Well, you're not going to have the opportunity. You don't know a gun.
That's true.
You see him in your car, swerve into him. Once again, hopefully it's not a guy in a ghillie suit. Didn't that actually happen a while back? Some
like
dude
that,
dressed in a ghillie suit got hit
I think so.
by a car trying to do a Bigfoot hoax.
Yeah, stumble across the wrong guy. Ooh.
Good times, son. Good times. That was a good chat.
I'm glad we had that episode finally, and yes.
That's another big thanks to Jorge Rohr.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's a lost tape. Still a couple lost tapes to come. So you guys will start over the next few episodes. This is the third one, and I think there's still 2 more.
There's nothing worse than going back to a podcaster telling them, you just lost their episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Bigfoot Show, sorry, we lost your episode. You want to come back?
Did you happen to record that?
We know you're busy all summer hunting Sasquatch, but you want to come back on?
Yeah. So there's still 2 more episodes to come out. So by the end, you'll get a good idea of how much content was actually saved by Jorge taking some time. I mean, he didn't design the RStudio software, but if it wasn't for him, I would have given up way before that.
Yeah, man. He was the one that said, keep trying these different things. So thanks a lot. And we want to thank
Mr. Darnell for the website too. Hey, it's much faster now. Oh, he hasn't done it yet. That's because we're upgraded on that temporary server.
Oh,
because it's free this month, but then next month they want like $75 a month for it, which is like fucking 5 times what we're paying now. But when Wayne's done, we'll stay on the same plan and it'll run the same speed.
That's like 15 subscribers,
but
just for the website.
Yeah. But no, Wayne should have that. He says he can get us back in his quota, and he's going to do a little sniffing around and try and find us the best place for where we should be.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So, but he was also, I think he just had some back work done over the weekend, so we should give him some get well soon karma.
Right on. Get well, Darnell.
Yeah, and hopefully we can send him some work. If you guys are looking to get any web design or anything like that done, check out darnelldigitallink.com, I think. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I'll put it in the website. I'll put it in the...
It'll be in the show notes anyway, and that's official web guy of Grimerica.
Yeah, thanks, Darnell.
Other than that, do we have anything else? Who do we got coming out next week?
I think we have Oscar, the shaman.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's a
good one. The Oscar, the Peruvian shaman for everyday living.
Yeah, buddy with Dennis McCann. No, buddy with... I can never remember his name for some reason.
I don't know. I can't help
Chris Ryan's buddy?
Krippner. Oh, yeah, that's right. Stanley. He knows Krippner.
Yeah, Stanley Krippner.
He was just on Chris Ryan again. I like Stanley.
Yeah? Yeah, he's funny. So, anyways, enough reminiscing. I can see you reminiscing there behind the mic.
Yeah. So well, check out all the regular shit. Everything will be in the show notes. You guys can review the show. Do it now. Just do it now, and like, there we go. Check out the Moneybomb.
Tell some friends.
Yeah, check out the Moneybomb. If we could get like 10% or 20% of the audience to join up in the Moneybomb, we could be doing some real spreading some real love around.
Yeah, man. THC's giving back like $500,000 a month there to listeners. So, you know, and then keeping half for themselves, of course. So I want to keep growing that concept. That could be the new podcasting way, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We're getting there. It's pretty new. We're pretty new too, but
yeah.
The show's doing well, so it doesn't look like we're stopping anytime soon. So
That's
you
right.
might as well jump on board.
We got Patty Greer coming up.
Oh yeah, that's our
filmmaker.
next live stream. When's that? The 19th?
And then we're
Tuesday,
taking a bit of
Tuesday?
a live stream break, right? And then we're going to release some back episodes here.
Yeah, we're taking 2 weeks off for a holiday.
2 weeks.
Well, it'll be about almost 2 weeks without a live feed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tuesday, and then there's nothing before I go on holiday, so there'll be anything.
Oh,
that
right,
Tuesday,
okay,
and then
okay.
I'm not even back till like Wednesday the following week.
Okay,
so
okay, yeah.
Take a much deserved break. You guys won't miss a thing because we're gonna have our double episode with a couple of graphic novelists and webcomic artists. That's actually a real fun chat, all on the fringe.
Yep.
Fringe-ish sort of subject. So that's going to be set to auto-release while we're away. And technically it should just come out on Friday as per semi-usual.
Yeah.
Or it won't come out, and who knows? This is my first time attempting it, so big thanks to Neil Davies for the jingle. Gitmo Yoho did the other one, so big thanks to them. Send us your jingles, and send us your music, and send us your money.
And spam.
Send us your spam. Spamgram.
GRAHAM at Grimerica.com.
Yeah, and maybe put even like spam header. Like Gitmo was talking about putting in larger penis as the fucking header. That'd be a funny twist. But
I would have clicked on it for sure.
yeah, exactly. Click. I've seen your advertisements.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.